My name is Steve Brandt. I am the president of Astrium Inc. It's a small UAV development company. Flight testing UAVs is becoming more and more difficult just because there's so many different regulations, and we're searching out a place to fly a pretty unique, actually a couple different unique UAVs. Heard about Pendleton. I can't remember how exactly I heard, but we gave him a call up here and talked to Daryl, and he was like, yeah, this is what we do. Tell us what you need, and we got a great place to come and flight test. So we've been testing about 4 years, 2 different projects. We've built 2 tailless airplanes that have some advanced flight control development that's happening on them. So they're definitely research airplanes. They're not airplanes that are being mass produced or for a specific mission task. It's more about research and development of advanced flight control capabilities. We actually went to a different range first for our first flight test. It was a bit cumbersome and pretty demanding on paperwork and timing and cost, actually. We ended up going there, doing a single flight test, and the cumbersome work that we experienced getting there was also duplicated when actually operating there. And that's not uncommon. We've had to go to military ranges at times, and military ranges are very complicated, and you have a whole lot of DoD, Department of Defense rules that you have to comply with, which is kind of an inhibitor to a small company actually being able to develop a capability. When we called Daryl, he said, yeah, I've got Steve and Eric are here to help you, and we had to provide pretty simple documentation on the airplane. 2 different airplanes that we've flown here, so relatively straightforward information to them. Provide insurance and the things that we all need to do when we do this kind of work. Big thing, he got us a COA, which is a big deal for our airplanes. Don't fall under Part 107, which most people understand what Part 107 is, so we don't fall under that, so we have to have specific approvals to fly, and that process was pretty seamless and painless to us. It turned around quickly, and then when we got here, Eric and Steve were basically like, here's your plot of the hangar, there's the tools back there, there's trucks for you, we're going to tour you to the range, make sure you understand everything. It seems like they bend over backwards every time you ask them a question about, hey, I need this piece of equipment, or can we do this? They helped us organize our initial flight test on just where we can safely fly. These airplanes are experimental, so they're not as predictable as some of the airplanes I think that they were accustomed to flying here. So even in that, they were willing to take maybe a larger risk with airplanes that are not quite as proven as some of the ones that they operate out here. Getting a COA is a legality, right, that you have to comply with, and doing it on your own is you're dealing with the FAA and typical online documentation that you have to fill out, and if it's not right, then where you're going to fly it, that's the bigger thing on getting a COA. You can't just go ask for a COA and then just go fly wherever you want, right? You have to have some safe airspace that they have evaluated, and coming here where there's this blanket COA that has already been approved by the FAA, and you just have to fall underneath of it with an approval for your airplane is just a hugely streamlined process, which takes so much pain out of it for us, for a small company like us to have the manpower and the time to do it. Yeah, the B-17 hangar is great. That's the only place we've worked. We haven't used any of the other spaces, but it's an open workspace. You're not cramped. We had to repair a couple airplanes here on site, and they provided as much material and help and aid that they could. They accommodated us shipping stuff here to have it available for us when we had to work and repair a couple airplanes after small incidents, that you have to get the airplanes back a little bit back together. And it's a great, comfortable place to work, and you're not cramped and feeling like you got squeezed into a corner somewhere. We use the runway always for our aircraft. It's a fixed wing, relatively high speed airplane, so we have to take off from the runway. But we have used the test pad, the pads that are right there by the runway that all have power, and they've accommodated us with trailers. They just did it again today, actually, to help us store stuff out there so it's easier to do daily operations instead of having to haul stuff back and forth. Clearly there's power and water and everything out there to make it more comfortable, and it's really close to where we're operating, which is really nice when you're flying relatively small UAVs. It's hard to operate when you're on the other side of the airfield or something. You can't see it. But the tower and all those guys have been great too. give us blanket, like, here, you can have the runway for the next half hour or next 45 minutes, and unless there's an emergency that comes in, they pretty much let us operate autonomously on the runway. You know, we just need to tell them that we're going to take off and tell them that we're going to land and just get clearance from them. So they're all very super accommodating and allows us to, you know, stay close to our work and be able to taxi the airplane back and work on it right there and then get back out to work after that. The thing that is, I think, unique about here is that there's very little traffic. A lot of these other airports are actually pretty busy or busier, and you know, to get access to a runway that's as nice as this one is not common, especially for maybe a block of time that you really needed to execute on. So typically the controllers are fine. It's just how well they're able to interface UAVs into the daily ops is probably pretty unique here. They seem like it's just second nature to them. So yeah, in general, I would say the two biggest things are responsiveness and the ability to accommodate a unique kind of flight operation that we have. So that the responsiveness, I mean, we finally solidified this event that we're at right now like 6 weeks ago, and we were able to make sure everything was in place. They were ready for us. So that's probably the biggest one, is just they're able to respond and accommodate pretty quickly. And then the other one is it's super affordable for a small company. For the services we get and the cost that it is, it's a huge win for a small company like ours. I've probably talked and flown at 5 different ranges, all the different work that I've done. None of them have been as just simple, accommodating, and able to get in here and execute. The weather's usually great. The facilities are very adequate for what we need to do. I mean, yeah, if you had a big project that you wanted to operate out of here with you needed a hangar or something, I mean, they have that accommodation. So having gone to many others, either tried to go there or actually operated there, this would be my top choice to come back to, and that's why we're back again for our, I don't know how many, 5th or 6th time that we've been here. So